At this time, we're going to call the Board of Commissioners to order. It is now 2:01, I believe it is. Today is Monday, May the 17th, 2021, and our meeting is starting at 2:01 p.m. We want to welcome all of you to our Board of Commissioners this afternoon. And at this time, before I get started with our formal meeting, I would like to make some announcements to set the tone of our meeting today. To all of our public comments, we do have a timer. You have only 3 minutes for public comments. When the time go off, we will have to cut you off. We don't mean to be rude, but we do have other business that we have to attend to. And so we're going to ask you to please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes to our public, and our commissioners will hear whatever you have to say this afternoon. At this time, we are getting ready to start our meeting. I just wanted to lay the foundation. And to our commissioners, when public comment is being spoken, we do not have to comment to public comments when someone is speaking, okay? So at this time, we want to know, do we have any public comments? Okay, all right. Mr. Omar?
Yes, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can I make just a question first before I do the comment?
Yeah, you can. You got 3 minutes to do whatever you decide to do, Mr. Omar.
All right, no problem. Okay, excuse me for any other word, good afternoon. My comment today is about the contract number C21-010. It is was in the meeting, Board of Commissioner monthly meeting, February 16th this year. This contract is corrupted, or it's violate the CFR recruitment procedures, a law. They say, and there's also a false, mislead information to the Board of Commissioners in that meeting. And it says, where the Jacksonville Housing Authority procurement policy, the agency can obtain the service of the qualified general contractor to complete the specific work. And this is not true. They pick the piggyback contract, and this is violate the law. And the Board of Commissioners, they can hire audit by themselves to audit this contract. The contract, like it says, like Mr. Alexander, he estimate how much the cost, and then he go to the market and say, please, I want you to do this work in this much money. The cost he estimated is $252,000 to a work, I believe, and I think everybody believe it is not to be exceed $30,000. Please, I need to share my screen to show the unit. The contract speaks about it. I want to show the unit, which is going to cost $252,000 for remodeling. Can I share my screen, please? Excuse me, can I share my screen to show a picture to support my points?
You can. I think you can. I'm not sure, Mr. Omar.
Yes, give me the ability. I'm going to share the picture. Only picture for the unit to show it for the commissioners.
Okay, just share.
I cannot get it. Still, it's not. I cannot share yet. I need the permission to share, please. It's from my time. Can I post the time?
He's got 32 seconds left.
You got 32 seconds left.
I need to share the picture to show the commissioners. They not give me the permission to share. You, ma'am, you said you can. I can share, but they not give me the option.
You can also send them to 1300, the pictures, and they will deliver them to the commissioners.
Okay, I'm trying to send many emails and they not respond and they not give it to the commissioners. I'm sorry, madam. The letters I write it to you, to the board of commissioners, they not reach you. They hide it. Even the record, the video record for the other meetings, they hide it. The last month meeting is not there, not in the website. They are
Okay,
covered. I need
uh,
to share to show the picture of the units, which is going to take $252,000 for remodeling. I want the commissioner to see it, please.
okay, Mr. Omar, can you
Yes,
hear me?
yes, I hear you very well. Thank you.
Okay, our legal team is also in the meeting. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Lazikia, could you please give Mr. Omar your information so he can send it to you? He says he sent it here and we did not get it.
I send it to Ms. Smith Sims and to Mr. Alexander because I'm telling about the corruption. Did not pass all the letters. I wrote it for you, man. And I have the emails. Even I send them emails. I can share it in my screen now. They not nothing reach you. They make barriers between me and you. I'm not going to anywhere else. I'm trying to give the information to the home, to the agency, to solve it in between the
Okay.
agency itself. I'm not going to go
I
outside.
understand what you're saying, Mr. Omar, but for real, you are out of time. And we only allow 3 minutes per public comment per person, and you are out of time. And like I say, if you want to get us the packet, be more than glad to review it.
Okay. There's any other public comment here? Or only
Excuse me?
me? There is
Huh?
any there's any other person who want to share the public comment or only me?
No, we saying if you get the packet to us, we will review it.
Okay. I need only just to show a picture to share it with you
I,
because the time
apparently you cannot do it because our technician has gave you permission to share it, and
no
apparently
ma'am.
you are not able to do it.
No ma'am. I'm recording my screen. It's there. It's not it didn't give me the permission. I try to click all the time and it's already
Okay.
it's light color. It's not bold color. I cannot share
Okay,
it.
excuse me. Hold on, Mr. Omar. Yes, Miss Lazikia.
Right. So through the chair, I think you've done about as much as you can do, just to remind, the public. The board's requirement is to allow the public to speak, and provide input. If there are documents that the public have, they can certainly get those documents over to the agency. But in this public comment speaking period, it is about speaking. You are not required to allow everybody in public comments to share the screen, really, because you have no idea what type of pictures are going to be put up right in the
Yes,
middle
ma'am.
of this public meeting.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to remind you of that you're not required to share the screen. You certainly can if you want, but that's not a requirement to meet the public input requirement under Florida statutes.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you so much, Miss Lazikia. Commissioner Phillip.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was a question about if there's another opportunity, I think that's what he said, to speak. And I don't know that you answered that question. If he's talking about, he's not talking about something that's on the agenda.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, okay. So, is there any other public comment? Oh, Mr. Alexander, I'm
I just
sorry.
want to let you know, and let the rest of the board members know, that all the documentation that he has submitted to this agency has been forwarded to Stan Weston, who's with general counsel with the city.
Okay, thank
Some
you.
issues there, so we forward all that information to him.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Yes, yes, there is.
This public comment is from Barbara Sanchez. She's a president of Brentwood Lake Apartments. To the members of the board, Mr. Alexander, and the Jacksonville Housing Authority staff, greetings. As a resident and resident council member, I wonder why someone of Mr. Alexander's caliber still works for the housing authority. Clearly not for the notoriety or admiration he gets from his peers or colleagues. Certainly not because some of the board members admire him for his accomplishments. I believe he works hard for the people. Mr. Alexander has been the CEO interim for 3 years And within those 3 years, he has not faltered. He and his team worked hard to make this agency the best it could possibly be. For 3 years, myself and other RMC officers and residents have acknowledged the work of Mr. Alexander. We presented signed petitions asking the board members to make him the CEO of the Housing Authority. Our voices seem to fall on deaf ears. We have invited commissioners to come out and visit our communities, but our stories convey that Mr. Alexander is capable of being the CEO of the Housing Authority. The search committee spent $25,000 plus on a search to find a CEO to the Jacksonville Housing Authority. None of the candidates had the same or more qualifications as Mr. Alexander. Some candidates came awfully close, but none matched his qualifications, his training skills, and most important, his experience. The search committee spent $25,000 to find a CEO for the Housing Authority. That money could have been used for piano lessons, dance lessons, or self-defense for our youth, or job training for our youth. Now, Mr. Alexander's pay, whatever his current pay is, he is working 2 positions, vice president and CEO. I believe that when you truly honor someone, you show appreciation through compensation. Just like the board voted to increase the pay for staff and maintenance, so should the board agree to pay Mr. Alexander what he is due. Let us put personal opinions aside and look at his work. Mr. Alexander has made progress here at the Jacksonville Housing Authority. You cannot deny that. He deserves this position and pay. He's done the work, and you know it. You treated McKinney's better than this, and he was a dog. His conduct was bad. He bullied who he could and treated some people with no respect. But he was your friend, and you gave him full pay while he did no work. Mr. Alexander did the work, but you paid McKinney. We see where your loyalties lie, and it's time to do what's right. There is another one, but she said she was going to be here, or she was going to speak.
Sarah Wilson, yes.
She's speaking.
She raised her hand.
Ms. Sarah Wilson.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
My name is Sarah Wilson Craft. I'm a resident of Centennial Townhouses West, where I've served the RMC Secretary for 3 years. I am also the Resident Advisory President, a position that I do not take lightly. I'm here to speak on behalf of the residents of the Housing Authority. Mr. Alexander has served as our interim CEO since late 2018, after Mr. McInnes was put on paid leave. The attention that Mr. McInnes brought to this agency was an embarrassment, and those on the board that were aware of his indiscretion but kept quiet should have been forced to resign, but are still here. I recently reread an article and was reminded of something Councilman Coleman said. We appoint them, we vote on them, and we tell them, go do what you're supposed to do, and they've been doing that. While that may be true for the most part, we the residents believe there's something we are still falling short on, making decisions based on facts that are in the best interest of, number one, the people you serve, the residents, and number two, the agency. The Times reported May 1st, in a highly unusual situation, Alexander has been the interim CEO for 2.5 years. Let me say that again. In a highly unusual situation. Yet again, you are bringing negative attention to this agency. Last year, the board conducted a national search to find a CEO to fill the vacant position, and quite a bit of money was spent to do so. Mr. Alexander was one of the 3 finalists for the position. Shortly thereafter, he removed himself from those. Some of you asked why. Why would he do that if he really wanted the job? I've attended numerous board meetings, both in person and virtually, and I can honestly say that Mr. Alexander stayed in the running longer than most people would have. The disrespect from several board members is obvious and absolutely unwarranted. This man, our interim CEO, Mr. Alexander, has improved this agency tenfold from the train wreck he inherited in 2018. Let me give you a few of his recent improvements. When he took over, he replaced the doors. So now that they have windows, so the past discretion would not take place again. He wrote a new in-depth employee handbook. He implemented Rent Cafe, which is a huge benefit to not only the residents, but also to those wanting to apply. There have been successful grad transitions. Employees are receiving certifications at numerous levels. I could go on, but let me highlight the most recent. The Housing Authority was awarded the Accredited Management Organization designation from the Institute of Real Estate Management. You like to compare the Housing Authority to other housing authorities in the state. JHA is the only housing authority in Florida to receive this designation. Not to mention, in the United States, there's only 5 public housing authorities to have earned. And who do we give this credit?
Excuse me, Miss Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay, well, I will send this so all of the commissioners can have the rest of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other public comments? We want to thank you this afternoon for all of your public comments. We appreciate them and we will take them under considerations, your public comments. At this time, we're going to ask for approval for our minutes for April the 30th, 2021 to our Board of Commissioners. Any, I'm sorry.
See, I wasn't here, so I'm not gonna move it. Let someone else
I'll
move
move.
Also, April the 19th as well, minutes are in the, on the board. We have both minutes, the special board meeting, which was April the 30th, and then our regular board meeting, which was April the 19th, 2021.
I'll move approval of the April 19th minutes.
Okay, all right, it was moved by Commissioner Phillip and second by, I'm sorry, did you second it?
Yes.
Thank you. So our minutes, there is no corrections to our minute. All in favor of accepting our minutes?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? Our minutes has been accepted. At this time, we have comments from the chair. I would like to say, oh, excuse
Should
me.
we vote on the other set of minutes from the 30th as well?
Oh, okay, I thought you did both of them. Okay, all right. Okay, so Commissioner Phillip just only made the motion for April the 19th. At this time, we need a motion made for April the 30th, 2021, our special board meeting.
I'll move to.
It was moved in second by our Board of Commissioners. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. None opposed? We thank you for the approval of our board minutes. At this time, comments from the chair. I want to say to our Board of Commissioners this afternoon, thank you so much for all of you being here. We welcome you. We welcome all of our public comments. We want to thank you, those that participated in public comments. We appreciate you. We thank you, our legal team who is present. And we have some guests today who is present with us. We thank you for being with us this afternoon. And those are my comments at this time. I will say some other comments at the end. At this time, we are getting ready for a presentation by Mr. Darren Smith. Is going to give us a presentation, I guess, this afternoon. Thank you to our Board of Commissioners.
Thank you. Should I stand up, sit down here?
However you want to do it. You can stand, you can see it. Okay.
Well, thank you everyone for allocating time and hearing me today. My name is Darren Smith. I'm the principal of Smith & Hensley Advisory Group. If you haven't heard about us, we're affordable housing tax credit developer in the state. We work with probably 15 housing authorities in the state as their developer partner. We close anywhere between 6 to 8 tax credit deals a year here. Currently in this county, we're active on 2 rehabs. the rehabilitation of Campus Towers, which is a 9% tax credit deal, and the rehabilitation of Pablo Hamlet in Jacksonville Beach, that is also a 9% tax credit deal. We are set to close our third rehab, Morris Manor Apartments, in December. So that's a little bit of our body of work. I would say from perspective of developers, we do the most rehabs in the state of Florida. I'm originally from New York City. I grew up in public housing, growing up in New York City, moved down here in 2010, and devoted my business to what we do here. So I'm very big on preservation. With that being said, I have a proposal on a acquisition, Old Hammock Apartments, to join teams with JHA and hopefully acquiring and rehabilitating it's a year 27 project, meaning it was built in 1995. It's coming out of its tax credit compliance period. There was 30 years of affordability. My goal is to rehab it, add another 30 years of affordability, and effectively partner with JHA. This project is comprised of 155 units located in the Arlington section of town. Right now, it's being brokered, so it's competitive. There's no guarantee we're going to win it. I do have a competitive, innovative structure that I think will get us there. I've been able to do this with Lee County and with Delray Beach Housing Authority in the last 3 years, so I think the strategy can work, but it takes time. Currently, right now, this project has 155 units that are covered by a project-based voucher contract from the Jacksonville Housing Authority. This contract is renewed every year, so it's subject to annual renewals. My goal would be to partner with JHA, have a 20-year contract in lieu of a 1-year contract, increase the rents to small area FMRs, 110, and do around $50,000 a door for rehabilitation. From my perspective, I think we would be uniquely positioned for 2 reasons. 1, the market knows what we do from a perspective of rehabilitation. 2, with JHA as our partner involved, we would be able to bring the HAP contract to the table as well. And we would join forces in doing that. My goal would be ideally to close on the financing of this by the first quarter of next year, start construction probably April. It'll probably take 12 months to rehabilitate the project. This project has not been touched in almost 30 years, so until we conduct the CNA to understand the full condition of the property, right now it's just saying that we most likely have to address all of the major systems, water heaters, HVACs, kitchens, cabinets, bathrooms, make it ADA compliant. The partnership between JHA and Smith & Hensey would be a partnership where we share in developer fee, we share in ownership, we share in residual value. The splits would be 80-20 to Smith & Hensey and JHA respectively. We'd come in as owners. We would provide all of the tax credit guarantees and we would fund all the pre-development expenses. I've wanted to work with this housing authority for a long time. I told you I work with 15 right now. So for me, it's truly a first step in doing this. I think it's a unique project where it's just outside of your portfolio. You already have a project-based contract there, so your budget authority is allocated. We're going to increase it a little bit, not that much, but it's a great way to use other resources other than public housing for development purposes. So from my perspective, it's a win-win for both parties. We've been able to be very successful, again, with Lee County Housing Authority and Delray Beach in these acquisitions. The only caveat I would say is no guarantee. It's a competition. We got to win it.
Mhm.
But I think we'll put together a unique game plan to win it.
Okay. Is that all your
Yes, ma'am.
presentation, Mr. Smith? Okay, to our Board of Commissioners, this is not a presentation for us to vote on today. Do you have any questions, Mr. Alexander? I believe he had mentioned this to me a couple of weeks ago, and Mr. Alexander would provide us with all of the documents when it's time for us to look at it to vote on it. But do you have any questions to Mr. Smith today, since he's here in person, that may run through your mind about this? Any of our commissioners?
Can you tell me who the current owner of the property is?
Great question. So I'm working through the broker right now. They haven't disclosed the current owner. I can tell you that the current owner acquired the property in 2008. And they've held it since. It's not a non-for-profit, it's a for-profit owner, and it's an out-of-state for-profit owner based in Tennessee. They are also selling this asset with Mandarin Trace, but we're only looking at this asset to acquire because we can add the most, I'd say, impact on this asset.
What's the current market value on it?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, you're looking anywhere between 12 and 14 million dollars, based upon what the broker's looking to receive.
And our exposure would be 20%.
You would have no exposure. We're going to cover all of the guarantee risk, all of the downside,
in exchange for our tax credit.
in exchange for long-term HAP contracts. We were looking to finance this with 4% tax credits that are non-competitive at the state. What we have to do is submit an application, and then we'll go local and have bonds issued by Jacksonville Housing Finance Authority.
I guess I'm kind of curious. How did you get here? How did you get to this project with us? What
Great
drove you
question.
to-
So I work with TAG a lot, Jane Dixon. She represents most of my clients, my developer partners, HAs. So, the affordable housing industry and also the housing authority industry is very small circles. We all know each other. We're only 6 degrees of separation. So I asked Jane to connect me with Dwayne. Dwayne and I know a lot of the similar people within this industry, I would say. He did his homework on me to confirm my body of work, which I implore anyone to do their homework. You'll see no one is more active than I am with public housing authorities in the state as it relates to tax credit deals. You can ask Jane as well. So she thought it would be a smart partnership based on my body of work, and she introduced me to Dwayne. Dwayne and I had many conversations about the opportunity, and he felt it was prudent to present today.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have any other questions? Or if you want to roll back?
Look forward to seeing what the financials look like.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
so
Thank you.
much for your presentation.
Thank you.
At this time, we're ready for Mr. Dennis with our financials.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
We are looking at our financials today as of April 30th, 2021. So we are now in our 5th month, or the 7th month of our fiscal year. So we're at 58% when we're looking at our percentages for income and expense. We will start off with our income by source. Our total income by source is for the month of April was $390,163, and for year to date we're at $3,611,707. Looking at our central office cost center, we're budgeted for our income to be at 58%, and our income came in right at 58%, so we're doing very well with our income for the central office. For our expenses, we're at 60%, slightly higher than what we had budgeted, primarily due to some COVID-related expenses, COVID-related equipment that we've had to buy to some spray equipment that we purchased. Moving on to our public housing, our income is at 70%, and as we discussed at the last meeting, this is high due to the fact that Hogan Creek has not had the RAD conversion completed yet. We're anticipating that to be completed at the end of this month, and as soon as that happens, the income will move over to the RAD column. And then for the expenses, it's the same thing. We're at 63% versus a 58% budget. Again, it's because Hogan Creek is included in the expenses here. For our Section 8 program, our income is 2% over budget, which is very good. This is due to, this is just the admin fee portion, and this is due to additional vouchers. And then for our expenses, we're at 58%, so we're right on budget for through the month of April. For our affordable housing, Gregory West, we're at 59% income, and that shows good occupancy in these uncertain times. We had budgeted occupancy to be a little lower because we weren't sure if we would have full occupancy. Our expenses are at 53%, 51%. Also very good, shows that the management company that we have is doing a very good job at keeping our expenses in line. For our affordable housing properties, which is our RAD properties, this includes the Waves and Centennial Towers. Our income is a little low at 31%. There's two things going on here. One is the Hogan Creek conversion. We had budgeted income for Hogan Creek for the full year, and also our occupancy was a little low during our lease-up phase, so our income is a little bit lower than anticipated. For our expenses, we're at 46%. It's a little higher than what we would probably like, with Hogan not being in there. But again, we're still within our budget numbers and doing very well. Then for our cash reserves, we ended the month at just over $35 million. So we're doing very well on our reserves. And then we always look at our quick ratio and our MEMAR for every month. And we're doing very well with those as well. Our quick ratios are ranging from just under 4 to around 10. So we're doing very well with all of our scores. Our average MEMAR is over 12 months, which basically says we can operate our properties for a full year without any additional funding from that.
Any questions from our Board of Commissioners for Mr. Dennis about our financials? That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're ready for our resolutions 2021 JHA 16. Mr. Alexander.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. This is
Good afternoon.
Resolution 2020 JHA 16. This to approve the internet phone service agency-wide effective June 1st, 2021 through May 20th, 2022. This contract here is with CenturyLink, and they provide all of our internet and part of our phones at all of our sites and all of our locations in the city of Jacksonville. And we asking the board to approve this.
And this is for, you say this is for all of our phones and our internet services in all of our buildings?
All of our properties throughout.
Okay. Okay. Any questions on this resolution to our Board of Commissioners? Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Resolution 2021 JHA 16 has been approved by the Board of Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. At this time, we will have our president report by Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Commissioner. I've got a couple of things I want to go over. The first thing I want to go, the job at Centennial Towers is doing extremely well. We have already rehabbed the 12th, 13th, and 14th floor, and we're actually working on the 11th floor right now being painted. And we have moved folks back in those 3 top floors. So as we complete them, we have been relocating people back into those units. We've vacated the 9th, 10th, and 11th floor, relocating those families. So that'll be our next group of folks. Up at Hogan Creek, the 14th and 15th and 16th floor is completely vacant. We have relocated the folks in that building, and we're looking to close. You can't hear me?
I didn't get one.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're looking to close in the next 30 days. Hopefully, we will close in the next 2 weeks. We had a call today with HUD looking to get some of these last minute insurance documents and permits that should be done in the next 2 weeks, and that we should be completed with that. We got requested from the local field office. It hasn't happened in 10 years, but they are completing a civil rights compliance review for the Jacksonville Housing Authority. They haven't done it in 10 years. It could be even longer since they've done it here. But they gave us some time to gather the information together. We put all the information, about 3 or 4 box loads of information we took down to the HUD building, and we're waiting for them to come on and do an on-site review. We also received a new budget authority for Monaco Apartments. It was about 10 vouchers, which is $12,774, which increased our voucher utilization up to 8,400, up from the 83 we was at. And then earlier this last week, out of that $1.9 trillion that the federal government approved underneath the American Rescue Act, the ARP, we received more than $1.4 million, and that accounts for 185 vouchers. And accepting that, they asked us if we want any more vouchers, and I just gave them a number of 500. We'll take an additional 500 vouchers because we could definitely use those vouchers here in Duval County. We are still anticipating, whether we get the 500 or not from them, we're still anticipating getting some more vouchers under that homeless program, which was another $5 billion in this book, $5.4 billion, which comes out about the 200,000 vouchers. But in looking at the 2022 budget, HUD finally put extra voucher money in here for all the programs, and they did put at least $400 billion in the budget for capital fund, the capital fund monies. For years, it has been more than 12 years since they put that amount of money into capital fund budget because of the capital needs at some of these properties and housing authorities throughout the country. As Mr. Darren was talking about earlier, we had vouchers on that property since 1994. Mm-hmm. And that property actually outlived its life expectancy. So most of these properties that the housing authorities have throughout the country has outlived its life expectancy. So they either need major rehab or they need to be demolished. So it's good to know that HUD put some more money in the budget for capital fund improvements. Also, we did an incentive to sign up more landlords because as we get these more vouchers, we have more and more people seeking to find units out there. So we have to have some incentive to be able to get vouchers, get these vouchers into the hand of landlords. So, help landlords rent their units. So we have an incentive. We put out there a one-time sign up of $400, which is the pattern what they have been doing at all the other housing authorities using the money from the pandemic as an incentive. So far we have several folks to sign up, but we're really trying to push that initiative because the market is changing. Years ago, it was easy for you to put someone on Section 8 because the amount of money that you received for the fair market rents was compatible to what they had out there before, if not more. But because of gentrification and these fair market rents are changing, as landlords before are actually leasing these units to college students or this new group of individuals that like to live in these upscale neighborhoods, because at one point, a 3-bedroom unit would cost about $750. Now you're getting in access of $1,400 to $1,500. So the units that you once had for low-income families is being pulled away from them and been given to folks that are spending the $1,300 to $1,400. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Alexander, I'm glad you said that because I have a question about that because we do get a lot of calls from residents about they get vouchers and they can't find nothing because the vouchers are so low. What are we doing? Have you heard that since you've been here? What are we trying to do to you know, like you were saying with these landlords, bringing these landlords on, are you, you know, like trying to get them to work with our clients so that they can, you know, get in some of these houses? Because that's one of the problems.
It is a challenge.
Yeah.
Even though we have enough units out there, that we can lease up, because utilization, it's easy to be able to measure the utilization of the vouchers. It tells you the housing that we have out there. But we always encourage more landlords to rent their units so that we can utilize more vouchers.
Right.
It don't make sense to get a lot more vouchers and you don't have the units, so they can't find the units. You know, they just waste away.
Right.
But the market has definitely changed. And when I say the market has changed, it used to be a renter's market.
Yeah.
You know, where you can actually go out there and find nice units anywhere between $650 to $1,000. That just ain't the case anymore. You know, so hopefully that incentive will inspire some of these new landlords out there to put some these units on the program. We do have a significant amount of people out there searching. To be exact, we got more than 26,000 people on our public housing waiting list, and we have now got over 13,000 on our Section 8 waiting list. But the real picture of that is that keep in mind, you got most people to sign up for 2 programs. So the number ain't really as hardcore that you got 400, or you got 40,000 people looking for units. What happens is you may have one person apply for both programs, and what happens, everybody don't qualify for the program. But because of the pandemic, many folks have just signed up just in case.
Yeah.
As a precautionary measure, they just sign up just in case. With these new vouchers that we got, normally when we get the vouchers, we manage the vouchers, what we do all the time. We get the folks off our waiting list. We determine their eligibility, and then we issue them a voucher. Underneath this 1.4 million, which we received this additional $1.4 million, all of the referrals for this have to come through the COC. And it has to come out of the database for them to make a recommendation. And that's where we will get the people for these 185 leased from that COC group, which is the homeless group, it's the Hubbard House, all of them. They put all their numbers in the system, and that's where they will determine the eligibility of one of these individuals to send them over to us. And that's how we know.
Let me get you, Commissioner. And I hear you, Mr. Alexander, but what I'm let me give you like an example of what I'm talking about. Like we may put out a voucher, one of our residents may get a voucher, say they voucher for 32209 is only paying $700. So when they look for something in that area, it may be priced out at $1,200.
Right.
And so that's where they coming in and saying, I can't find nothing because my voucher's not paying enough money. So that's what I'm kind of talking about with the landlords, is we kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like trying to talk to our landlords to see if they will accommodate our residents.
We keep a listing upstairs of available units at all times. Fortunately, folks like to be able to live where they like to live at. And it may not be a unit in that area that's available, or it may not be available until next year. I mean, that's the logic, that you would like to be able to live wherever you want to live at. But unfortunately, in this city, in this county, you have certain area codes where it is very expensive to live at. And some area codes where it's very reasonable. Now, these are based on the smart area fair markets, but it is exactly what it is. You know, we receive those fair market rents. I'm anticipating that HUD will be able to do something in the future, because this is not an issue that solely limited to Jacksonville. Every city has this issue where it's hard to find Section 8 vouchers. And how we determine that is that when we give you a voucher, we automatically give you a voucher for 30 days. And we have to give you extension to 60 days. And then we have to give you extension to 90 days. And we track every voucher to see how many vouchers that we have to get over the 60 or 90 day number, so we can be able to determine the utilization.
Okay. Commissioner Phillip.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Alexander, it's great that we have been awarded these additional 185 vouchers and that we have put ourselves in contention for an additional 500 vouchers. Talk to me a little bit about our current staffing level and our ability to manage at this level. We'll be looking at hiring additional staff. I see there are 26 vacancies.
Yes, ma'am.
Good
Very good
question.
question. Thank you. We have been actively trying to fulfill the positions in both departments. We have had some turnover, and the turnover has been because some of the folks are aging out of the positions, they're retiring, and you have some folks that just don't have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to work in that capacity. They don't have the skill set to work in that specific job. And you have to have some skill set because you're calculating people's rent, and you want to make sure that that rent and their calculations are correct. So we look for people with some experience, but we have been doing very good in recruiting lately. Because there's been tons of folks looking for a position. I would say our numbers right now, I think we have 182 employees or 183 employees. 183, which has been the highest since I've been here. We haven't had that many employees on the book since I've been here. And some of the positions we probably won't fill altogether, but in Section 8, we had to restructure that department. For years, it just had a director, and from the director right into the managers. To manage that program efficiently, you have to have a director, then you have to have a deputy director, then you have to have a program manager, and then you go into the managers. And we have been fortunate to recently obtain getting a program manager as well as a deputy. The deputy came from in-house, which was a move up, and the program manager actually came from the city of Jacksonville, actually worked for the city, had tons of housing experience. But yes, we are doing the recruiting for those positions to make sure we have the correct staff to be able to do the workloads. Okay.
You finished, Ms. Phillip? That was a good question. You through, Ms. Alexander?
No, a little bit more.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So, and also, we have been working on our strategic plan. We have took the old goals that they had back in 2014, warmed them over, and we have stayed on the path since I've been here for the last 2 years. And we had each department, we've been working with NAM and K Associates, working with each department to set the future vision for this agency. We did the draft. And we did the draft so that we can have a solid document to give to the board, so that when we sit down with the board to be able to go through a retreat, we can actually finish up the document and have a new document in place. But we've been working on that. I think the last department right now maybe have something to do with resident services. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But we've been having ongoing conversations with each department to make sure that we have an ironclad strategic plan moving forward. And I will reach out to the board members to find out your availability so that we can have a retreat in a meeting, so we can dissect that whole entire strategic plan to find out what some of the aspirations the board may have. Also, I just want to pass around, just wanted to finally show you all, we was featured in the Affordable News Magazine, which is a very prominent magazine in the country. We had a full spread in there on how well we manage our properties. I'll get that to you. So they had a big article on us and how we're managing our property, and things we're doing. And the other thing is, we finally got our designation, get that to you, from the Institute of Real Estate Management. We are, as I mentioned before, we are the only housing authority. There's over 70-something housing authority. We are the only housing authority in the state of Florida that is an AMO. We are one of only 5 nationwide. So we're very, very, very proud of that designation. It is a display and attests to our ability to manage at a high level. We're very proud of that. So we finally got that after long, laborious effort. We are accredited agency, and it's not no typical agency through the Institute of Real Estate Management. And I would like to give a lot of thanks to the staff, especially finance. They got the code of ethics we had up top. And again, we're the first housing authority. And if you look in your package, it's a little AMO insider that you have in your package. We are one of only 5, and it's 3,200 housing authorities. So we have set the bar. We have truly set the bar when it comes to managing properties and the way HUD is going nowadays. Things are changing. Thank God. That concludes my report. Is there any questions?
I had already asked my question, Mr. Alexander, but I definitely want to say to the staff of the Jacksonville Housing Authority and you, that we want to congratulate the achievements that y'all have made here faithfully in working. Thank y'all so much.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes. Yes, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, I have a question, but I
Okay.
appreciate your report, Mr. Alexander. But I do want to go back to Mr. Smith's presentation just real quick. I'm just trying to get a clear understanding of how we got here. When we did Hogan with Vescor or even the Waves, how do we get there? Is that some competitive process, or people just come to us with deals?
I don't know what happened back then in 2016, but normally we send out an RFP. In this case here, with the property they're talking about, Oak.
Hammock, yeah.
We actually have 155 vouchers on that property.
Okay.
So we have had the vouchers on that property since 1994. So we had those vouchers, 96, I want to say. And we provide a subsidy to that property every year. We had 1 year, it's a 1 year contract renewable up to 15 to 20 years. So this is not the first time that someone came to us with an opportunity like this. It just wasn't, it makes a lot of sense. It had to make sense, but normally, because it's a real estate world out there, you always find all of these developers and real estate folks that want to partner with the housing authority, because traditionally, housing authorities normally got all their money from the federal government, and that was it. But now you're doing these complex mixed finance deals and doing some of these development deals. I receive calls every day, if not mail every day, on folks interested in doing business with the housing authority.
I get that, and no offense, Mr. Smith.
No, I agree with that as well.
Let me just ask him one more question. If that's the case, and we get, people have been interested in doing business with us on a deal like this or deals like this, would we not want to leverage that through RFP process again? I'm nothing to do with this one, really. I mean, just, it seems like if we have what they want, we would want to, sort of leverage that opportunity and see if we can get even a better deal through the RFP process.
Yeah, but again, go ahead, Ms. Ross, I'm sorry.
I think typically if we own the property is when we would issue an RFP for the property. But because this is privately owned, they approach us.
Right.
If they are interested in us partnering with them. And the reason being because it is multi-level funding that goes, that has to happen to make these properties affordable. Mm-hmm. And so they are leveraging the opportunity along with the project-based assistance that we are providing to them. And wanting to keep us in the deal, so to speak, to make it affordable.
What I heard him say that they, there's no guarantee because they have to be competitive to actually do the deal.
So there may be other people that are looking to develop that very same property that may be applying for tax credits, but they may or may not have approached us.
Right.
And Mr. Alexander.
Typically in this environment, what separates us is we're having eagerness and willingness to include the housing authorities in ownership. A lot of times you're going to see that developers such as myself are different from me, who come in and just ask as of right for a renewal. That won't you have, not included the housing authority and move on. And that's the difference. The last few deals that I've done, the HAs are always included in there. And in addition to being included to the ownership, you don't have to have an RFP process, or if that's the case with your vouchers. Your vouchers are there already. If they were new vouchers for a different acquisition, if you had to add vouchers to a project, then an RFQ or an RFP would be warranted.
Okay, so if that's the case, then what would stop another developer, X, Vesco, or whoever, from pursuing the same deal and asking us to be involved in the deal as well? Will we have to be exclusive?
Well, I mean, technically, any developer could come up and approach us. It would be a matter of what they're trying to give us or what they want to give us.
Exactly, that's my point. Right. I mean, that's my point.
I mean, even if they didn't approach us, with any possibility of somebody 20% ownership, we still have the vouchers on there. We're still obligated to provide the vouchers to that property for 15 to 20 years. They just trying to leverage some ownership for us so they can get the driver's seat so that they can be able to get the deal.
I clearly understand all of that. My question really is to, just to figure out how we get here and what keeps us, sort of in bed together exclusively. If it was an RFP process, because there's a need for one here. If there was an RFP process, once we select someone, we are exclusive with that developer. But I think I'm trying to figure out, where is the, what keeps us from wanting to get a better deal if we don't have, we don't have to, because clearly we don't have to.
Can you go over what the ask rate has changed for 20% ownership? Maybe that'll help.
What we have, again, as it was explained, we don't own the property, but we do own the vouchers. Yeah. So for the developer to put some investment into the property, the attraction is when they go and get a loan, part of the loan is leveraging the fact that they have guaranteed money on that property for 15 to 20 years, which is the voucher.
That's what makes it attractive to them, because that's what we have.
Right.
What's to stop someone else from coming and say, hey, Smith Hensey, they got a deal, but ours is better?
Nothing.
It's a free market.
It's a free
Right,
market.
it's a free market, right.
And so my question would be, at what point do we say, and what, really for the benefit of Mr. Smith and this group, at what point do we say, this is the best deal we can get based upon your interests, and why should we stop there?
Well, if you want my opinion, it's a very simple deal. At the end of the day, the board will have to make a decision on if they want to do the deal or not. We already have the vouchers there. If they don't come with anything, we still giving them the vouchers. So we'll continue to pay for them for 15 to 20 years. In this case, we do benefit from the developer fee one, and then we benefit from the 20% of ownership. What happens is when you get some of these developers, and they haven't even put the bid out for us yet. They just want to partner with us so that if in fact that they do get the deal, that's what's lucrative for them.
Yeah, I understand that. I do understand that. Trust me. You're the CEO. Right. When Mr. Smith walks out of the room, what's to stop you from going to your office and picking up the phone and say, hey, these guys were here saying this, can you make it better for us?
If someone else came with a better deal, then I'll be right back here with another board meeting, let the board be involved with it so they make a decision, because as soon as they made made a proposal, this is what we're trying to do. Well, you got to speak to the board. I don't make those type of decisions. Okay. So we'll be right back in front of the board.
Right. So it sounds to me like, I'm sorry, Ross, it sounds to me like when that time comes, we would get an opportunity to look at the proposal, the details, and decide if this is something we want to undertake given there may be other opportunities out there.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when you really look at the totality of the situation, the bottom line is that we have residents that we provide vouchers to, which is 155 units that we don't own and we don't manage, to give the opportunity for them to live in a more modern unit. That's at the end of the day, as long as our residents say they live in a more moderate unit, we don't even have to have ownership.
All right.
But it makes it better if you have some ownership.
And I think just to kind of restate your question a little bit differently, what I hear you asking, and maybe Ms. Hodges can address it, or Mr. Alexander, if he has the answer. And that is, at this point, we are not exclusive with Smith Hensley. And so if we were to be approached by someone else, there is nothing that will keep us from looking at the other proposal as
Right.
well.
Yes,
at this
right.
point. Because you heard me say earlier when we were in, when the presentation was being made, I look forward to seeing the numbers. Because right now, we haven't seen the numbers. And you know,
Right.
there may be other potential developers out there that say, you know, well, let's see if we can put together a package and bring it to them. And then we
That's
have
right.
a decision.
That's right.
Otherwise, if this is the only game in town, then certainly we would be in a stronger or better position by partnering as opposed to just providing the voucher.
Right.
I just want to be clear with that. Just want to be clear.
Very good, very good, yeah.
And that was what my intentions is, to bring them to the table so that you all can make a decision on how you want to move forward.
Ms. Hodges, is all of that in order, appropriate?
Yes, through the chair, I would really just have to defer to Dwayne. I know you could accomplish that same thing with an RFP process. That way you don't have to worry about vetting one proposal, you don't like it, you wait for the next one. With an RFP process, you say to the whole world, hey, give us the best deal, and then you make a selection. But yeah, I'd have to defer to your CEO if he thinks this is the better way to approach it, as opposed to putting it out, you know, for bid.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay here. Thank you. You through, Mr. Alexander, with your report? Well, thank you, Ms. Alexander, for your report today. We appreciate it. And I think all of our commission has already asked them all the questions y'all need to ask them. Okay, all right. Old and new business. Under old business, I wanted to bring back to the board attention that there were some committees that were set in place by our chair, Mr. Jonathan, Commissioner Jonathan. And so I wanted to remind us of those committees. And I wanted to say to Ms. Phillip, Commissioner Phillip, I know that there were a couple of things went on. In January, I did make the announcement to the residents that you were going to start that resident meeting. But in March was the one that you were going to do. And I don't recall exactly what happened, but I think you had an emergency and you wasn't able to do March. So I proceeded with March. And then I also had proceeded with May because I forgot to ask you in the other, in our April board meeting, if you were gonna, you know, have one in May. But since we are in May and we've already had the one for May, the next one is scheduled, because they usually is every other month unless you so desire, because now you are the chair for that. If you want to change it to every month, I guess you can. But the next one is scheduled for July. And I know that you well-rounded and I know you know what to do, but
Put some butter on that toast, would you?
and so I wanted to ask you if you would be ready to start in July with the next resident meeting. Okay, and so Mr. Alexander, you can get with Mr. Alexander. He will tell you, we have been, because of COVID-19, we have been doing those meetings virtual. They've been very successful. The residents have been on the calls and online. And so Mr. Alexander can provide you the information, as well as once you sit with him, then Ms. Lattimore, because that's up under resident relation as well, the resident. So we definitely wanted to encourage you about that, and we know that it's going to be a great success. I also wanted to open to the other commissioners on the board. I am on that board with Ms. Commissioner Phillip, but if any other, the other commissioners would like to be on that board, on that committee, you can today let us know if you want to be, or I can just ask you and appoint you. So if you so desire. So, but like I say, I know that Commissioner Phillip is going to do a great job with that. So we wanted to try to make sure we get these committees up and running and going like they, supposed to be. So y'all might want to say, well, hey, let me think about it, let you know next board meeting. So, but yeah, we wanted the opportunity to be presented to you today for that. So any, the other commissioners would like to be on that resident relations committee with Commissioner Phillips. She is the chair for it, so we have to follow her lead.
Sure.
Oh,
And there's nothing to preclude, Madam Chair, any board member who wants to.
right,
attend.
right, yeah, yeah.
So I'll make sure when I speak with Ms. Lattimore that she makes sure that all board members are informed of when those meetings are scheduled.
Okay. Okay, make sure you get with Mr. Alexander,
So-
because I know he probably have some information before you get with Ms. Lattimore. Get with Mr. Alexander first, so that he can, give you all of the ins and the outs that we've already been doing with that resident relations. I would like for you to get with him, please. Thank you. Also up under our old business, I wanted to let the Board of Commissioners know, and I believe that Ms. Linda may have that ready for me. If you didn't know, on May, the article, the newspaper article, I don't have it.
On this?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's our order.
I had gave you mine to make a copy for the other commissioners. I believe it was May 1st, the article was put in the paper on May 1st. And it was talking about, from our special board meeting that we had, the Board of Commissioners had, about our, CEO. No, ma'am, I don't have it. I gave it to you to make the copy. It might be on the copy machine. And so, I wanted you to know that it was a great article. They went over about the things that were said from the city councils, but they also highlighted some of the things that Mr. Alexander has been doing since he's been here. And I thought that it was a really good article, and I wanted to ask the Board of Commissioners, because Commissioner Briggs, you wasn't here for our special meeting. We know you had something that came up, but pretty much the rest of us, and I know that Commissioner Annabelle is not here today, but the rest of us was at that meeting, and we were kind of all in agreement, because we did ask the question to Mr. Alexander if he wanted to be considered for that position of CEO. And he answered us with yes, he would like to have the job. And so I wanted to ask the Board of Commissioners, with y'all permission and with you agreeing with us, Commissioner Briggs, because like we said, Commissioner Phillip made sure that we wanted to get your input before we did this. I wanted to ask y'all permission, if we could, if I could meet with the president of the city council to let him know pretty much the census of us as a board, that we have had the opportunity to look at Mr. Alexander, look at his work, all of those things, because I don't know when we're going to be a 7 board. But they also didn't only just say a 7 board, but they told us that we could make a decision after 2 months. So I wanted to see, and the legal team, Ms. Lazikia, she would set the appointment up so that we can get city council on board with us as the Board of Commissioners, to try to make a decision about the CEO of the Jacksonville Housing Authority, because our staff, our residents, everybody has been just in such a dilemma about who's gonna be our leader, who's gonna pick this torch up, and we know that Ms. Alexander has done a great job by picking the torch up and running with it, but we want to formally give him the position if all of the Board of Commissioners are in agreement of making him the CEO.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I appreciate the opportunity for you all to have deferred. I'm kind of feeling a little on the island here because I wasn't here. My apologies for not being available. My and chair's privilege. I don't have any problem if I encourage you to meet with the council president regarding this matter. If it were me, however, Madam Chair, I would also probably meet with our council liaison, who sat on the Rules Committee when the legislation was passed. So I would probably take that path and make sure that whatever's being communicated to the council president is also being communicated to the liaison from this board back to the city council. And I think that we'll be in good standing to take whatever action we feel necessary.
And that's what, and I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what Ms. Lazikia had said, that we would set up, like you're saying, the liaison, the city council president, so that we could get them on board, because all 19 of them have voted on this, and we just wanted to, see where their thoughts were at this time, since we have not been able to get a full 7-seat board yet. So, yeah, so that's what I wanted to do, to see, so that we can get moving. Does that make sense to all of you? So that we could get moving down the path that we really need to go to make this happen? Yes, Commissioner Phillip.
Madam Chair, in addition to that, during that discussion, I also asked that we have some communication or reach out to the mayor's office to determine what the status of the vacancies are, and whether or not, because I think that would be important information also, so as a part of the conversation with the council members,
Okay.
to know where we are in that process.
Well, also Ms. Lazikia is getting ready to speak, but she did inform me of that today. So Ms. Lazikia?
Yes, through the chair, when I've had prior discussions with the chair, it was contemplated to not only include the council side, but also the mayor's side, because as you know, the council is waiting on the mayor to make those appointments. The council can't make appointments unless the mayor is moving those appointments through. And so I wanted to tell you a couple of things. One is that the administration has already filed legislation. This gentleman's name is Christopher Walker. He's a well-known attorney here in town, but it's resolution 2021-278 will be introduced to the council tomorrow at its council meeting. And so legislation typically takes 6 weeks if there's not any sort of issue with the legislation, and there's no reason to think there would be any issue with this one. And so you could have your member as early as June 29th, and that would give you your 6th member. The other thing that I just wanted to clear up was that in the resolution, through the chair, I think you inadvertently stated that you had 3 months or until you got a full board. The way that the resolution read, which is non-binding on the Jacksonville Housing Authority, but it certainly tells you the will of your governing body, so that's important. But it was the later of 3 months or you getting a full seated board of 7 members. And so that's why we're clearly beyond the 3 months, but that would have been the earlier of, not the later of. And so that's why the resolution would, tell the board not to hire a CEO until you got that 7th member. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lazikia. So we've all heard that. So do I have the Board of Commissioners blessings to go forth and make these appointments so that Ms. Lazikia can set them up so that we can have a conversation?
I think we urge you to.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that, I think that was all up under old business that I wanted to cover today. I know that, no, it's one more thing I wanted to cover today under old business. I know that Ms. Taffany is here. One of the things, Ms. Taffany, that I wanted to ask you, can you please, I'm stressing this, to make sure that we get Mr. Alexander's, help me out. His evaluation. Yes, thank you, Commissioner Phillip. His evaluation on our agenda in enough time before our fiscal year ends, please. Okay, all right, thank you. And that's for, for Mr. Alexander, and I think if we do that, we would be fair with any CEO that we have, if we do that. Under new business, I wanted to say to the Board of Commissioners, I would like to, and we've been talking about it, I've been talking about it with legal counsel, and I think it would be a good thing that we would have a retreat. Wanted to ask you, Ms. Stephanie, again, if you would help us with this, but I think it would be good for us as a board, way that we can have an open dialogue, talk, about some things that we really need to deal with as a board, and how we want to deal with it and the time that we want to deal with it and all of that. So I want you to be thinking about that, because we definitely, Ms. Lazikia thought that would be a good thing for the Board of Commissioners to do, way that we could have a retreat and just go over some things and be able to highlight some things about our board. Any input, Ms. Lazikia, that you would like to give on that?
No, only that I would recommend you don't have that retreat until after at least your 6th member is appointed by the city council, and that way that gentleman will benefit from it as well.
Right, yeah. I was gonna make sure I ran it by you so before we set the date. So, but that was one of the things that she talked about, that she said she thought that would be good for us to do that, so that we can get some things ironed out as a board on how procedures of things that how we want it to go. Any questions on any of the comments that I've made under old or new business? If there's none, we're gonna move on with our agenda. Our bylaws, I need to defer our bylaws to our next meeting. And the reason I needed to defer them, because there were some questions that I had about some of the things that's in the bylaws, and I didn't have an opportunity to meet with Ms. Taffany or with our legal team. So I don't know if y'all had any questions. Did y'all review the bylaws? You did? Commissioner Phillip did. You did too? Okay. Did y'all have any questions about the bylaws? Okay, okay, super. But I just gonna refer it to our June meeting. And so we won't make no action on our bylaws today, if that is all right with the Board of Commissioners. I want to defer it to the June meeting. Okay, all right. With that being all, that conclude our meeting for Monday, May the 17th, 2021. Here at the Jacksonville Housing Authority at 3:22. We are now moving into our Brentwood meeting. Our Brentwood meeting, Monday, May the 17th, 2021, will start promptly at 3:22. And to our guests, I don't know if you have anything else you need to do today, because you don't have to stay for the rest of our meeting if you want to exit. Okay, thank you. Uh-huh. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for allocating time.
Yes. At this time, we're gonna get ready, and we're gonna ask Miss Yvonne if she put the clock on. We're getting ready for our public comments. Again, I would like to say up front, we do have a timer. We're asking you to please keep your comments to 3 minutes. We would greatly appreciate that. Any public comments? Okay. All right. Being no public comments.
Move we approve the minutes.
Okay. Okay, it was moved and seconded by the Board of Commissioners for our minutes, March the 15th, 2021. Any corrections to our minutes? Seeing that there's no corrections to our minutes, can I get a motion?
Move it. All in favor?
Okay, oh, all in favor? All right. Aye. None opposed. Our minutes have been accepted. Brentwood Park. Oh, general, this is the resolution, Mr. Alexander, for Brentwood.
Yes.
Okay. This resolution here, before Mr. Alexander gets started, I think Ms. Laziki are gonna talk on this resolution as well as Mr. Alexander, but all the commissioners, we have to sign this particular resolution for Brentwood. We need your signatures. Thank you. Thank you.
The only action needed is signature,
Yes.
no voting.
No,
That's correct.
well, I think it was gonna be some discussion when,
No, it's
No.
just basically, the articles of incorporation, and it just need to be updated.
okay.
From the old board members to the new board.
Oh, okay, okay. Did you have anything on this resolution, Ms. Lazikia? This is the article.
I believe Dwayne worked with the original outside counsel that formed these entities for the Brentwood Park project. So it's been ran by outside counsel in that sense, and that firm has prepared these documents for you. So I don't have any comments to that.
Okay. But it needs the signature of all of the Board of Commissioners.
That's correct.
Yes, I was telling Ms. Lazikia that. You heard me, Ms. Lazikia?
Right, and I believe that's because, as you will know, or at least the veteran members and the new member will find out that whenever the JHA partners with these various developers, you're forming all sorts of corporate entities. And this Brentwood Park project was formed maybe Dwayne, early 2000s. So clearly the original board of directors is not the current board of directors. And from a corporate standpoint, you have to constantly update who the members of these corporate entities are. And so each time you get a new board member, what should be happening is the new board member's name is listed as a director for these various entities. So that's what's happening here.
Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Lazikia, and thank all of the commissioners for your signatures. At this time, we're ready for our financial for Mr. Dennis.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We are looking at the financials for April. Again, Brentwood has the same fiscal year as the Housing Authority, so we're in our 7th month. We're looking at percentages around 58%. Starting with income, we're at 64%, which is very good. A lot of this is due to operating subsidy pass-through for the public housing portion of Brentwood. So we're 6% over budget on income, so that's good. And then on expenses, we're about 3% over. Nothing particular stands out. There's a little bit of expense related to HVAC and a little bit of COVID expense, but it's still very reasonable with our expenses. Any questions related to our financials?
Seeing that there's no questions, you have one, Ms. Green? Okay, seeing that there's no questions, we thank you, Mr. Dennis, for our financials. Any other questions before we close out the Board of Commissioners meeting for Brentwood Park on Monday, May the 17th, 2021? If there's no questions, then we're gonna close the meeting out at 3:27, I believe that is, 3:27. Thank you all so much.